In my match against Neil at the USAM, I made about a 10, 12-footer for par on 14 to stay one up and gave it a big fist bump and was like so hyped. It was like I just won the lottery.
This is The Tournament Code.
Thanks for joining us, JM. I know you got a lot going on. I know you had the shoe school recently. One of the things we do now since the last time we talked is we kind of have an icebreaker, and it's because we have what we call the Putt View Books opening tee shot. Putt View Books sponsors us. They're super nice to do that, and we'll put you on the spot a little bit here. It's U.S. Open week, so we'll have it U.S. Open theme. And just one question, and if you need a breakfast ball, then might have a breakfast ball. This one should be pretty simple, I think. Who is the only player to complete the career Grand Slam at the U.S. Open?
Complete the career Grand Slam at the U.S. Open.
The options are Tiger Woods, Gary Player, or Jack Nicklaus.
Let's see. Let's go. I think Jack Nicklaus won his first U.S. Open. Let's go Tiger. I'll just go Tiger.
It was Gary Player, but we'll give you the credit there because that is a hard one.
Yeah, I didn't even know Gary Player had the career Grand Slam.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm trying to think what Tiger's Grand Slam was on. The Tiger Slam would have finished on.
He won the Pebble U.S. Open and the Masters, so it was either British or PGA.
Then I think it had to be British because at that time the PGA was at the back end. But don't hold me to that. Awesome. Well, JM, you've had a lot going on. Let's start with the national championship. What was that like?
Oh man, it was awesome. Just an emotional week overall, and a very, very long week. We were there for like over 9 days. So, but man, just what an awesome week, and what a way to cap off a college career and end it with those guys. It's very cool.
You've been talking when we talked last, and we talked with a few Auburn guys too, and off interviews we've talked with some of the guys over at Auburn too. It sounds like you got a really fun, special culture over there, and you got a really, obviously, all around strong team, good freshmen, good seniors, good everything on that team. A lot to look forward to for Auburn in the future, both in college and afterwards. When you guys got on site, what's it like playing so many days so many rounds in a row? Because I mean, people talk about sectionals, or what it used to be U.S. Open sectionals, and also the USAM before they changed up qualifying as one of the longest days in golf because you got 36 holes. It's pretty tough. And for you guys, you had full rounds of stroke play and then match play all the way up to the end where you're doubling up some days. Tell us what that was like.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of golf. And at the end of the week, you're completely exhausted. There's no doubt about that. But for me, I don't know, but we didn't really talk about it with the other guys. But for me, it was just I was always focused on the next match or the next round. So I never really even have time to kind of go back and think about, oh my gosh, I'm so tired, because my focus was always just on what's next. And it was just very relieving. And it was honestly a weird feeling after winning because you're so focused on what's next that it's like, oh my gosh, it's finally over. And so, yeah, it's a long week, but you just can't let that distract you. And I think we did a good job of focusing on what was next.
We, Daniel and a couple of our other friends were watching the NCAA championships, and we were like, dang, like this course is really long and the greens are really firm. What did you think of the way they set that golf course up?
I thought they did a great job. I really liked the venue. We were able to stay at La Costa, so it was, we were on site. They had great gym, great facilities, practice facilities, and The golf course itself, yes, it was very hard. It was long. The greens were firm, but I thought it was fair. It just took a lot of adjusting, and it felt like you just had to be very disciplined, playing a lot front numbers. You had to be in the fairway, and just you had a lot of options off the tee, which I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, just you had to be very, very disciplined and firing at certain flag sticks and missing in the right spot.
You guys, a lot of your team works with Scott Hamilton up in Cartersville. And when you're playing, this is kind of a weird question. We're playing 9 days in a row. One of the things that people don't think about is like your swing's constantly adjusting, but especially 9 days in a row, you don't have that much time to like what I would call maintain your swing. Sometimes like things just start changing. How much time, like what was a lot, I imagine a lot of time spent on rest, like those days in between tournaments, post round, how much are you like just recovering? Are you spending any time working on your golf swing, or are you just getting ready for the next round?
I would say after every round, I like to go and practice for 45 minutes to an hour. I would, on the 36 hole day, I can't say I went back to the range afterwards, but yeah, Scott, I love Scott. He's been so great to me, and a lot of the stuff he teaches is very simple, and so it's not, too technical where it's like it feels like I'm just trying to find it all week. And honestly, just the preparation I put in before the tournament, all I had to do is, kind of trust that. And I've felt like I've spent so much time on the golf course and on the range and just in the hitting bays working on my technique in general that it really wasn't going to change that much just from playing. And I just had to go out there and trust it.
Yeah, I think a lot of junior/college players who may or may not have had success would be leery to switch coaches in the middle of their college career. Since you had a lot of success as a junior golfer, was it hard to make the coaching switch during your college career? And if so, how did that come about? And what was it like when you first started working with him?
Yeah, so I started working with Scott Hamilton about halfway through my freshman year. I've always worked with Scott Sedgwick, who was the head pro at the golf course I grew up at. And he was great to me, but I wanted some eyes that had seen some PGA Tour talent and had some success at the highest level, which Scott had for sure. And I worked with Scott for about a year and a half and was a second team All-American with Scott. And then just kind of chased something better and ended up with Lane Savoy for a while, and Lane was great too. But unfortunately, we just didn't mesh at the end of the day. And I learned a lot from Lane, and he helped me a lot with my swing. But now I'm back with Scott, and I've been working with Scott since I want to say March. I think like first week of March, and so I feel like I'm on a really good track now with Scott, and we're both on the same page, and he loves what I'm doing right now.
That is cool. A lot of people, I think one of the popular things is to be process focused, and being process focused is a good thing. But a lot of people would get leery or maybe even intimidate themselves by setting verbal goals. Some people don't have like written out goals. Like they have like theoretical goals, but they're not like, I want to win a national championship. You had your iPhone like home screen was a picture of you guys winning you holding up a national championship trophy before you had one. Tell us about that goal and then accomplishing it, and then and what you said in the interview is also true. A lot of people say, oh, I've been ready for this moment, I'm prepared. And sometimes I hear that and I say, okay, I don't actually believe you. You're just saying that I 100% believed it because one, we know you, and two, I know this is something that had been on your mind to have, and you're that type of guy. So tell us what it was like being in the moment of something that you imagined you might be in.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time visualizing it, obviously, just putting subtle cues around, like changing my lock screen or having pictures of the trophy in the locker room or in my room. Just things that kind of would attract it. and just keep it on my mind. And I believe in the law of attraction, and that the more you think about something, the higher percentage chance it's going to come true. And that if you can put your mind to something and believe in it, that it will happen. And that this was no different. And I've wanted to win a national championship for Auburn more than anything in my entire life, and I wasn't going to let anything or anyone get in the way of that. And so, changing my lock screen or putting my background as me holding an edited version of the trophy, it could do anything to hurt. It could only help.
Very cool. You also, as you mentioned, it was a goal at Auburn, and then you wrapped up that goal. You accomplished it with a great group of guys. When you finished up, you also obviously now have to go make a living, and did well in PGA Tour U, and still went to the Canada qualifier, PGA Tour America's qualifier. Tell us what immediately essentially wrapping up a long season like, and then all of a sudden jumping over to that qualifier.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. I was really wanting to get in the top 25 for PGA Tour U and not having to go back out to California. But it didn't work out that way. Unfortunately, I kind of played my way out of it at the stroke play portion of the NCAA championships. And I was on top of the world at NCAAs, and then you kind of take a step back, and a couple days pass, and you're like, "Oh crap! Now I don't have a job, and I'm out of college, and so there's really nothing I can do except go and play in this Q school." And it was pretty wild turnaround. Obviously I'm back in Auburn for a couple of days celebrating with the guys, not having much time to prepare, but I just told myself the amount of work I had put in the entire year, that I'd be okay, and that a couple of days of having a break and good time traveling a lot would affect anything. And I played poorly the first round, but bounced back with 3 solid rounds and was able to get my card out there, and just super stoked to be starting professional golf next week.
And what is that tournament that you're playing in, and what else do you plan to play in this summer?
So the first tournament, it sounds bad. I don't know the exact name of it, but we're just going to call it event number 1. And it's up in Victoria, Canada. And I'll fly from Atlanta on Monday, land there Monday night. Tournament starts Thursday, and just get used to living life on the road. I'll play in 10 events up there. It's 2 weeks on, 1 week off, 4 weeks on, 1 week off, and then 4 weeks on. And so just try to get in the top 10 of the Fortinet Cup rankings and get Korn Ferry status. And once that's finished up in September, I'll play in Q School for the Korn Ferry Tour and PGA Tour.
I'd like to go back and talk about some of the success that you've had since we last talked on this podcast, most notably your semifinal finish in the U.S. Amateur, where you eventually lost to Neil Shipley, who we've also had on the podcast. Why don't you just talk about that match, playing against him, and what you learned from your success at the U.S. Amateur?
That was a very emotional week as well. The USAM taught me a lot. I had a pretty big lead over Neil going into the last 8 holes and let it slip, but he did. I felt like I didn't really give it to him. He was a great player, and I have all the respect in the world, and he went up and made it happen. But I definitely learned a lot from that experience, and I wasn't going to let the same thing happen twice at the NCAA championships. Let's just say I corrected my mistakes there, but a lot of it was just my mental thought processes. I thought my maturity level at the USAM was not as good as my maturity level at the NCAA championships, and that was a big advantage for me. That was a big learning experience, was my maturity.
Yeah, so for the listeners that don't know, JM actually had a rematch against Neil Shipley in the NCAA National championships where Auburn ended up defeating Ohio State and JM beat Neil Shipley. So what were some of those mental lessons that you learned kind of specifically, and just how did you gain that maturity over the past year?
This is the best way I can describe it, is that I made a 10-footer on 14. I've always been a very kind of emotional player. Like even in other sports, like I played off of raw emotion. Like I feel like that's what kind of gives me my grit, is just like my emotion, my ability to overcome and like push myself. And at the USAM, I was very emotional in that match. I was, giving fist bumps and I was like having so much fun. But I had a good talk with Buddy Alexander, and he told me that the celebration should wait until after the match is over, not during the match. And so I took that to heart at NCAA's. And in my match against Neil at the USAM, I made about a 10, 12-footer for par on 14 to stay one up, and gave it a big fist bump and was like so hype. It was like I just won the lottery. And then I got to still go and tee off on 15, and I step up on 15 and my heart's pounding out my chest. Whereas I would have just kind of gone up and simply pulled the ball out of the hole, it could have been totally different. But I would say just my emotional regulation and my ability to control my thoughts and all that.
So when you're at the NCAA's, it sounded like one, you kind of made sure not to get too hype, not to celebrate before it was over. How, when you're standing up on some of those shots, they're pretty difficult. If I got my holes right, I'm thinking 17 was the par 3. Is that right? Am I remembering my holes right? Like that shot is a wedge in your hand. It's a hard green, tough pin location where you land. You can land on the green, obviously, as you did, and then bounce over into the bunker back there. And it's also a shot. You leave it short, you could end up in the bunker or the water. Imagine 17, you're feeling some of the heat a little bit. What did you do to regulate your emotions there and step up over it and feel more comfortable?
Yeah, that was hole 16 actually. I'm sorry. But
no, you're good. You're good.
It was exactly how you described it. It was exactly how you described it, with the water short and the greens being rock hard and the bunker long. And to be honest, I just was just reminding myself of my preparation. I've hit hundreds of pitching wedges, or obviously more than that, thousands and thousands. And so when I stepped over that shot, it felt like I was just on the back of the range at the Auburn University Club hitting a stock pitching wedge. And like I told my coach afterwards, like I looked down at the ball and I swear to God, I was on the back of the range, and I just hit it, and I look up and it was a great shot going right where I wanted to, and even landed in the spot I wanted to, but just trickled over the back.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot. 16's that par 3, 17's that cool par 4 where you hit it in the fairway. And it's, again, has trouble over the back, and then 18's the par 5. Now that the season's over, when you look back at your time at Auburn, what are some of the biggest takeaways? Give us top 3 takeaways from your 4 years there.
Like as far as learning experience, or just like memories?
Learning experience. We'll get to memories soon, but learning experiences being with those groups of players.
I would say the number one is organization. From my head coach, Nick Kleinert, he's very organized, and he just has a lot of organization. He expects a lot from his players, and so that was a big learning experience for me. It was not even on the golf course, just off the golf course in general. And then another takeaway I would say is just not making golf like your number one priority. Like obviously golf is what you do and golf is what you love, but don't let it identify you. And just because you have a bad round or a bad week or a bad year doesn't mean you're a bad person. It's just golf at the end of the day, and it's something that we do as athletes to compete and try to excel at, but it isn't really J.M. Butler. It's, beside that. And that is a very important lesson for me to learn, as golf was just something I would, people come up to you like, oh, you're J.M. the golfer. But, I think myself, when I think of myself, I don't really think of myself as golf as much. It's a very fine line, but yeah, that was a big takeaway for me to learn.
What stuck out to me a lot when we talked to you previously, and when we've talked to other members of the Auburn men's golf team, is just the brotherhood that and the culture that has been created down there. And I think a lot of people would look at, you guys winning the national championship this year and saying, oh, they just got hot. They got a lot of really good players. They got, freshman player of the year or whatever. But that culture and that national championship has been a work in progress for the time you've been there and even before that. So just talk about that culture that has been created there and what you and your teammates have done to cultivate that culture.
Yeah, I think it's all about having guys who have a shared vision, and for us, that was winning a SEC and national championship. When you have guys that have different goals or kind of like an individualistic mindset or a selfish mindset, it tends to not work out. And for us, every single player on that team, their priority was the team, and we're always there for each other. That's basically all I can say for the culture, is that we're just always there for each other, and that's created through hours of long practice together. And it's a testament to Coach Kleinert and the way he creates his team and the kind of messages that he gives us.
Yeah, obviously you guys are working extremely hard, doing 6 a.m. workouts, all that good stuff. What do you guys do together off the course to cultivate that positivity?
I would say just playing a lot of, like, we'll play pickleball together, we'll play ping pong together all the time, go to the football games, go to the basketball games, go check out downtown Auburn and have a good time out there. All those little things just add up, and when you're seeing and living with these guys, it just works out naturally. I guess that guys become closer and closer and closer, and that combined with the shared vision created the brotherhood that we were able to have on the team.
When you talked earlier, you said, golf isn't my identity. It's not who I am. It's not my number one. What is your number one, or like, how do you organize? Yeah. What is your number one then? And how do you keep golf from being your identity?
For me, I would just say it goes back to my family and my faith, and just trying to be kind and put a smile on everyone I meet. Obviously, when I feel like I get on the golf course, I'm a lot different, and I have a different mentality. But when I'm off the golf course, I'm always just trying to find ways to make people around me happy, and whatever I can do, and to help others. I feel like helping others and inspiring others is what I was put on this earth to do, and I'm kind of lucky to be able to do that a little bit through golf. But my number one, I would say, is my family.
For this off season, what's your plans as far as where you're going to locate yourself, practice, play? Are you going to be over in Louisville? Are you going to stay down in Auburn? You're going to go to Florida? What's the plan?
Yeah, so I'm going to be living in Auburn permanently. The practice facilities down there are just really tough to beat. That combined with having the team down there and just the familiarity of the last 4 years. Obviously, Louisville is great too, but the winters get a little cold. And so I love being home in Louisville. There isn't anywhere else I'd rather be than at home in Louisville with my family, but Auburn's going to give me the best chance to excel in professional golf, and I'm happy to be calling it as home.
Very cool. So over the summer, I know there's a lot of Auburn alums that hang around there still and play together. Have you talked with any Auburn alums? I don't know if you asked for advice or anything like that about how to handle the next stages of your career.
Yeah, a little bit. Grayson Huff and Jacob Solomon have been a big help. Jacob's moved on from Auburn, but Grayson lives there. And I would just say having Jason Duffner as a guy I can call literally at any time of the day is fantastic as well. So yeah, I don't really know what right now what I would ask them about being an Auburn alum and the next step, but I know I have them, which is I'm very grateful for if I do need help.
When it comes to your game, what are the things that you're working on? I mean, everyone wants to get better, but what are the things that you're working on in your game? Obviously, you're ready to play at the next level in some form or fashion. You have status on PGA Tour Americas. You'll have Q School coming up. What are you working on to be ready for all that, and where are you trying to improve the most?
Yeah, I would say just keep tightening up my driver and working on my wedges, getting the distance control more and more precise. I feel like I'm very, very good with my wedges, but you look at some of these guys and they got it down to like the exact 1 yard increments, and so that's something that I think I'll continue to work on and just keep getting better and better at, and keep hitting the driver better and better. I feel like I've always had a lot of distance, but at times it gets offline, and I feel like that's something I figured out recently, and I'm really excited to just keep rocking and rolling with that and see what comes next.
You mentioned earlier today that you had just gotten off the course. What does a typical day of practice look like for you now that college is over? And yeah, what does a typical day to look like now that you don't have like school to worry about?
Yeah, I will say it hasn't been as rigorous since getting back from California. I've been here with my family and friends, so I haven't had a specific routine. But once I get back to Auburn and get on the road, it's gonna be pretty buttoned up. But right now I've just been going out and playing. I've still been playing 18 holes every day with a couple of my high school teammates, Ballard Harris, Hudson Hummel, and then some of my good buddies, Drew Doyle, Bryce Beard, guys like that play on Bellarmine's team now and have continued to play college golf. And yeah, even playing with my brother. He's right here playing with my brother, and say hi, Charlie.
Oh, what's up? Sorry, my bad.
Sorry about that, but he's my brother's one of my best friends and someone that always loves talking to me and cracking jokes, and he's actually going to caddy for me in a few events in Canada, which I'm grateful for. But yeah, nothing too serious, guys. Just kind of enjoying being home and being back in Louisville, and if I feel like going out to the range, I'll go out to the range, and if I don't, I'll kind of just hang out at the house.
Very cool. We'll let you get to hanging out with your family in just a few minutes. You said you were talking about your driver. What's your club head speed, ball speed numbers right now?
I love this question. I feel like you ask some guys, they always like, I was like, I'm so like, you don't really get an exact number, but I'll give you an exact number. So I was on TrackMan today, and my ball speed average is 178. Club speed is about 120, and with like a 11.5-degree launch, that's about a 300-yard carry. So
that's solid. That's right. That's right there. Are you doing? Not that it's slow? Are you doing work to speed it up? Are you happy where you're at? What do you think about it?
no, I'm pretty happy where I'm at. I got an extra gear if I want to kick it up. I can get 185, pretty on demand. So to have that is nice, but kind of anywhere from that 178 to, if it's hot and I'm really loose, 181, 182 is plenty for me.
Tell us about some of your favorite memories at Auburn.
Man, I would just say going out to eat with the guys, going to football games, tailgating is always entertaining.
I'll give you a second to think. I'll tell you a story from my college experience, and maybe that'll ring some bells for you. So I went to Belmont, private Christian school, and we'd had some recruits in town, etc. over the course of a small period of time, a couple of weeks, and hung out with them, and then it was like 9:00 at night, and our team captain, senior, texts us, the freshman, and says, team meeting in like an hour and a half, so like 10:30 at night, over on this side of campus. We need to talk now. Actually, it wasn't even the team captain. It was the team captain who's saying the other guy's pissed. You need to come over here. So we all get over there. Ashton was the one who was there and pissed, and Scott Barnhart, I don't know if you ever met Scott, was there too. And Ashton was like, guys, coach, we talked with coach, and I mean, there's some big issues about what happened over this recruiting visit, and all of us are just like looking at each other like, what is he talking about? We're like, but we're also like shaking our boots because it's like second or third week in school. We're like, what's going on, man? He's like, does anybody have anything that they want to admit? And pretty much quiet. Guys, there's no line to me. Does anyone have anything to admit? I'm like, dude, man, we didn't really do anything that bad, but like, he's like, well, I just have to say, I am disappointed in how gullible all you guys are. and all of us finally, loosened up our buttholes because we were so nervous from that one. But there are a few different stories like that. And time definitely had some pranks played on us. Hopefully that gave you a little bit more time to think through. Can you any fun memories you have from Auburn besides just winning?
I can't stop thinking about the night we got back at Toomer's Corner, and there were, thousands of people there rolling the trees at Toomer's Corner. It was a big ceremony. The AD came out, the president of the university came out, coach gave a speech, and it literally felt like we were the freaking like 98 Bulls. It was nuts. It was so cool. And then what fun we had afterwards too, and that entire night was. I don't want to go too much into detail because I don't want to get anybody in trouble or anything like that. But man, it was just so much fun. We had a great night, and to be able to celebrate it like that in Auburn with all those guys, and to have people I've never even met, like literally hundreds of people I've never even met, just come up to me and like start hugging me and telling me they freaking love me. It was really cool. Really cool.
That is awesome. I understand that. It took us a while before we could tell the story of, I'll say one more, how one guy from our school right before conference, this is how you can tell we weren't that serious of a golf school, even though we were D1. He didn't pick up when they were like leaving to go to conference. He was the number 2 player, wasn't there for the bus at 6 a.m. So finally by 8 a.m. they went over to his dorm, and his clothes were soaking wet, and he'd gotten drunk the night before, gone in the shower with his clothes on, and fallen asleep in the shower with his clothes on. So, and I'm sure in 5-10 years you can tell us some stories like that. But we appreciate you taking the time.
That's brutal.
Yeah, it was. As I said, you could tell that's why Belmont didn't win any OVC championships, and probably is indicative of some of the things. But fortunately, I think they have a nice trajectory ahead of them. We appreciate taking the time. Cooper, you got any more questions you want to ask?
I'm good. I think this is good.
Perfect. Well, thank you, JM, for taking the time. We'll see you around. You said you'll be in Atlanta. Let us know when you're around. Always happy to have you out. I saw Jackson Coyvin and Carson Bach the other day out there with Jace. It was that Friday right after you guys won, prepping for the U.S. Open qualifier. And they had I was playing out there with Aldrich, Poguider, and some guys prepping for theirs. And we were playing at 9, and those guys had an 8:30 tee time or something like that. And then they bumped it back, I think, to like 11 or something. Because when you win a national championship, it takes a little bit of time to recover. But you guys had a good team, a good group of guys.
No doubt about that.
So best of luck.
I think I'm
on your journey this coming year.
I think I'm still recovering. Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Cooper. I appreciate it, man. You guys are awesome.
Absolutely.
And,